Hi, Change Catalyst family. Welcome to our live session today. We're going to be. My name is Ore. I'm the founder of Change Catalyst Co. I am happy to tell you that we're going to begin to going live for the next few days, every day for the next few days. So one of the reasons why I chose to do that today is because in the back end we are working on some very juicy strategy and road mapping for your consumption, and so we would not be we would probably not be posting a lot of things this week. However, you can be sure that we're going to be going live, and we'll be inviting you, anyone that wants to come online, to come just chat with us and talk about the things where we need to the things that what you feel about any of these things that we're chatting about. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is essentially today's live is for AI implementers and those who implement AI, those who lead AI implementations. Just trying to separate, those core roles and bringing the conversation of ethics around it. I recognize that there's been a lot of conversation about AI. There's been a lot of conversation about AI and what it can do, but I know that some of these conversations are born out of concerns, which I'm not hearing a lot of concerns around ethics, the word ethics being brought into it. But I know that a lot of those concerns are born out of ethic, out of concern for keeping ethical and ensuring that we keep the conversation of who's human and what human is. Now, I've been watching this movie on Prime about humans. And I can tell you, I'm getting a lot of deja vu from those clips, those movies, that movie, from those episodes. Each episode, a new stream of fears, of human fears around AI. When it gets to that very advanced stage, AI consciousness. What it means to be human, what it means to be human. Let's talk about that for an instance. What does it mean to be human, really? Because this movie is talking about how. So the part where I am right now talks about what it means to to consider a synthetic. That's the term used for this artificial intelligence driven humans. What it means to what it means to consider them as human. So at what point do you then say this is no longer a property, this is no longer a thing? How do you consider does it mean for this conscious person? So this consciousness means that he has feelings, they have feelings of their own. They are people who understand the various emotions that human beings think about, or how we feel, how to navigate human relationships, how to go beyond um the models that they've been. So this is generative AI advanced. They've gone beyond actioning, leveraging data that they're presented to provide insights. They've gone beyond that, and now what they are doing is feeling things as humans. Now, so this AI driven synthetic was, murdered a person because she was upset because he was going to rape her. Normally, based on the laws of governing that country, or that it was the scene was set, the movie was set in United Kingdom. Based on the laws governing that particular situation, it would be assumed that that bot, or that synthetic, was now malfunctioning and should be destroyed. There were people researching what to do with those conscious, those scenes, that were now conscious, and those um who were no longer who were now what to do, how far to go. That's valid. However, they would there was the question of, should we try this person or this robot as that looks human, acts human, as a human, or should we destroy it because it's a property or it's a technology that's now malfunctioning? And now they would then had to go through the process of showing her images and on to understand, see, gauge her feelings, her emotions, her pulse rates, how it increases, because based on science and technology, the way that these humans these synthetics will gauge your feelings or your personal state at that time was how your heart, based on your heart palpitations and things like that. Now, what does it mean to be human? That you have feelings. Is that what it means to be human? Or that you react to certain things? Is that what it means to be human? I I I do not know. I would not agree that based on code written to cause that code based on certain parameters, such as if your heart rate is enlarged, or that your excuse me for a minute. Okay, sorry about that. So if a code is written that the a person a technology would have its core or hearts beats, just they don't have hearts, but that they would have certain emotions based on they would have certain emotions based on how, not emotions, because they are not they don't have emotions, but that they would have certain they would feel a certain they would be inclined, or based on certain parameters, they would have certain behaviors. Just because of that, they can't be said to be human based on certain stimulants, external stimulants, that they should feel a certain way. These things don't have judgments. They have to learn judgments. A lot of these things, that's not what it means to be human. That your feelings are that your that certain external stimulants change influence your reactions, that you have the inclination to react in a particular way based on external stimulation. That's not what it means to be human. There's the role of judgment. There's the role of, can they change? So if a person has developed certain neural pathways because of their experiences, can a human being can change and learn to react differently and train and build new neural pathways based on their based on new messages that they have memorized and continue to meditate on or choose to dwell on, because they're intentional, because they make judgments, because they have a soul and a spirit. So they're just different ways of looking at these things. outside of code, outside of what the code, however predictive, a, a tool or technology has, how does a person change? How does a tool, an artificial intelligence tool, maintain itself from crossing certain boundaries? They can't be human. That's one of the ways in they will make decisions based on data, which is very useful, but there's also judgment, which is where human beings come into the question. A human being is able to make judgments based on their inclinations, which they can choose to ignore. They can choose to go strictly data driven. There's several things that influence the way we make decisions as human beings. Our ethics, our experiences, which influences how we go work based on our emotions. Even something as simple as some a memory can influence the way we make decisions, can influence our judgments. All of those things sometimes we can choose to ignore and go against the grain. That's where human beings come in. A technology is only subject to very objective data driven insights, and how they choose to process that data depending on the level of development that artificial intelligence gets to. It would it would it would always there would always be need for a human being to come in and introduce things like set different parameters, metrics, and KPIs. Now, how do we keep how do we maintain that balance? How do we obtain that balance? This is outside of the fact that there are people looking to make money out of this thing and will, not implement those kinds of things. Now, how do we keep ethics at the core of these implementations? Because these things that's in this movie that I'm explaining, they went as far as raising an army, and they were you could see how they were forming certain opinions, even those who were trying to be ethical in their decisions and how they related to human beings, not to react based on fear or the natural inclination that is the a human being and is seen to have in common, which is to react in fear and respond in the offensive. Now, you could see how they had to adapt to the fact that human beings were afraid of them and become inevitably offensive. So you would feel some empathy for them. I mean, you could see the trend, you could see the way that they trusted people and chosen not to, even though they were stronger than people, chosen not to be to act towards them. You could see how that changed, had to change, because if you were human, you would of course be able to need to implement, you need to move from seeing a certain way, reacting to certain things a particular way, and changing the way that you behaved. Now, how do we keep ethics at the core of these implementations? It would be more of an audit, maybe a written audit, to remove unintended bias, audit for bias. Because even now, when you get data, there are certain things that don't work. There are certain things that are, you can tell that this data is influenced by certain things. You can tell that this data is not objective. You can tell that this data wasn't collected in the best circumstances, most ethical circumstances, and so would not be useful or will not produce the most objective insights. You can tell that. But also you need that audits to show people to by running simulations and scenario testing to detect bias, and that human influence is very necessary because if a tool has become very predictive in its ability to react to be reactive, how do you then implement how do you then change the way that person the way that tool processes data? There's so much there's a watching this movie has shown me so much. There's so much that we are to expect. How soon we're going to expect it, I don't know. But right now, we need to start from the basics. Not that I feel like we're still very much at the at the peripheral stage of breaking into this artificial intelligence, and there's still an opportunity to embed these ethics from day one. Checks and balances to check and balance the people that are checking and balancing, and check and balance those people as well. Because we have a long way to go, and it's exciting, but at the same time it's a very interesting new you know i- AI might be a black box for some of us, but it's certainly, I mean, I feel like it will always be a black box for human beings. See, it's a species of life that's different, that will continue to evolve, and it's evolving so quickly that no one organization, no one body, no one country would have a hold on it. There needs to be that human oversight needs to be incorporated, not to curtail, but just to keep, not even keep human beings in control. I mean, let's just not to lose sight of what AI means, of what it means to be human. If we're going to be defining humans based on a tool's ability or a seeming being's ability to react, react, to be convincingly human in the most, you know, non in the most subjective circumstances, it begs to question you find it very difficult to understand and see why people would even think that human beings are human beings. you know what does life mean? These are questions that I was thinking of throughout this. I'm going to do this. We're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to be looking at where humanity fits and what it means to be human. We're going to be exploring further. A lot of the things I'll be saying about this is based on my understanding, which will continue to improve, as I'm very intrigued by what it means to be human, what it means to be, what artificial intelligence means from a non-technology perspective. A little bit of technology perspective, but mostly from a non-technology perspective. For those who don't know much about AI, For those who aren't technology inclined, this is our place to try and deep dive into those things, explore what it means, our understanding of that, see the gaps in our understanding, and try to close that gap. And I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, my name is Ore. I'm the founder of Change Catalyst School. I'm a cultural change strategist. And see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like this page and share this to people you think will find it interesting. Thank you so much. Bye.